Hi everybody. Ryan has asked us to add two collections in Tealcat collection images. This is one of our steps towards having the site ready for a public beta. Um, I figured rather than write a long wall of text description on how to do this yourself, that instead I create a short little video to give you an idea so you can see it in action. So in your original email, you'll have the address of Tealcat. You'll also have your username and password. Before we get started, I will give you a word of warning. Some of you have a bug attached to your account. So when you log in, you'll get a scary warning message. Just ignore the scary warning message. The test account that I'm about to use actually displays the same error. So you should be able to see how to get around it and keep working. Okay, so let's get started. First, I'm on Tealcat. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll notice that there's a login link. So let's go there. I'm using test guy and the password from the email and clicking login. So here's the scary message. Just ignore it and click on the logo at the top. So now, if you scroll all the way back down to the bottom, all the editor menu controls are available to you now. So the best one to use for adding images to collections is to use the Manage Console Assets. This screen will appear, and what this is it's a list of every collection and all of Tealcat available for editing. And you have the ability to filter it by the title, by the organization, by the council. Anything that you type into these boxes and click Apply for is saved. So that way, the next time you come back to this screen, it will have exactly the same settings. This will probably be helpful to you in the future because you can enter your council in here and then you'll only see the things that belong to your council every single time you come to the screen. So for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to start with Capital. Now, the reason I started with Capital is that Capital was one of the folks who, in the spreadsheet, added the name of the featured image that they wanted to go with collections. What I did is I took the information that was in that spreadsheet and I went out to Content DM and automatically downloaded those images and then renamed them and then push them back onto Tealcat so that way they're here for easy attachment. So if you filled out those fields, kudos to you. Probably a lot of your images are here already. And all you have to do is find them and pull them out for use. If you didn't, like me, you'll have to go through and find those images, download those images yourself, and upload them into place. And I'll show you how to do that as well. So we're starting with a collection that already has an established image. So that's this one right here at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit. And there are a couple of different things on this screen worth talking about. The first part is the collection image, and this is the thing that you'll spend the most time with on this page. And then we'll have feed, and then we'll have the featured, imported fields and featured stuff at the bottom. So let's start at the top with the collection image. Because I already have a collection with a specified image, I can click on File Attach, in which case a drop-down box appears, and then we can select the file. And what I've done is I've named each one of these images with the collection ID. So in this case, this is the collection ID for this particular collection. I'm going to select it. If you don't know that off the top of your head, and why would you, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see imported fields. If you click on it, it actually has the fields of information about the collection, including the collection ID. So in this case, our collection ID match here and here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Attach, in which case you'll notice that the image appears. Now the image is kind of blacked out, and the reason for it is because you needed to find some information about the image. This module for Drupal allows us to do what's called focusing. It allows us to take each image and decide what part of the image is important and what part of the image can be safely lost as it resizes the image for different purposes. Generally speaking, when I play with this, I like to start at the crop rectangle because that's generally like a larger part. So I'm going to define the crop rectangle as this part of the image. And so as I define it, if I scroll back up a little bit, you can see that it puts the dimensions there. So this part will always be cut from this image, meaning that border that's around the outside. Now, if you wanted the border to appear, you could put it in there if you wanted. In this case, I'm taking a shot in the dark and saying, yeah, it's probably better without. Now, the focus rectangle is the part of the image that is never cut, meaning it will always be present in the image no matter what resizing ends up happening to it. They recommend that you keep it as small as possible, and I agree. So in this image, I'm going to say, by the way, I've clicked in this focus rectangle. I'm going to come back down here and I'm going to select this. I'm going to say that this part will always appear, no matter what size the thing happens to be in the end. That's the important part of the image. Okay, so that's that. I have my focus rectangle defined. I have my crop rectangle defined, and it looks good. The next bit that we need to talk about before we click save is feed. Feed says URL and it's got the required field. You have to put something in this field. Now, this is a side effect of the way that we're importing data from the XML database. Every collection has a field blank. No way around it. So I recommend that you put in that field http://blank. It's just a dummy URL. It puts something in the blank so that way Drupal is happy that there's something in the blank. The next bit down here is the imported fields, and I showed you briefly that the collection ID is here. This is actually all the data from the XML database that appears in Drupal. Now, you're welcome to change any of the stuff that you find in these imported fields, but I warn you, your work will be for nothing because the next time Drupal re-imports from the XML database, it will overwrite everything that's in the imported fields. So while I show the fields here and you have the ability to look at the fields, there's not much point in editing them because it will just overwrite them with whatever's in the XML database. Okay? So collapse those, and that's why I collapse them. Hopefully out of sight, out of mind. The next bit down, it says featured, no and yes, and no is selected by default. This actually controls whether or not this collection appears as a featured collection on the front page of the website. You can select yes from here if you wish, but there's a better interface for that, the featured collections interface on the editor menu, that gives you a better idea, a more holistic view of your featured collections. So for the moment, I'm just going to leave that as no. I'm going to click save, in which case I return back to the Manage Console Assets page, and you'll notice that the thumbnail has changed from our default to this one. So I'm going to visit the collection just so I get an idea of what it looks like when I look at it. That looks pretty good. I like it. So I'm going to go back. So we're back on the Manage Console Assets page. All right, time to swap over to my collections. So this is the Northern New York stuff, and you can see them listed here. You'll also notice that there are absolutely no images other than the default because I've been busy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in county so that way it narrows the list a little bit. So now every organization here has the word county in it. So it helps me narrow the list a little bit. I don't have quite as many to look at. And the first one I'm going to look at is the Brazier postcards. Okay. I went out ahead of the recording of the video and I looked at their collection and I selected what I thought was a pretty good representational image for them. So I'm going to do just that. I downloaded, by the way, that image to my desktop, so I actually have a local copy of it. And I have not modified the image in any way. It's just the raw image right off of Content DM the way it appears there. Okay, so I'm going to go under Edit. And so again, I have my collection image. But rather than doing File Attach, I'm going to do Upload. I'm already on the upload part of it. The reason for it is because I didn't get a chance to fill in the spreadsheet. So I'm going to do Upload, choose File, and here's Brazier JPEG. I'm going to say Open. So now it says Brazier JPEG next to Choose File, and I'm going to say Upload. And in a second or two, the Brazier photo appears. Again, same thing as we were doing before. I'm going to select the crop rectangle. You don't always have to start with the crop rectangle. It's just the way I like to operate. So this part will always be cropped out of the photo. It just never will be there. In the focus rectangle, I'm going to decide, I think I like this part of the photo the absolute best. So there we go. We have focus rectangle, crop rectangle specified. I've already on this one entered my dummy URL. So there it is, http://blank. Not going to feature it. I'm going to say save. So now when I go back and I look at this screen again, there's the thumbnail for it. Let's click on Brazier and see what it looks like. And there we go, a focused photo for Brazier. So if we go back to Manage Console Assets, and there we are, we're back at the screen again. And then I can move through the rest of my North Country and add images. Looks like I have a bit of work ahead of me to get this done. So thanks very much for watching the video. If you have any questions whatsoever, please send me an email. Please give me a call. I'll be happy to help. Have a good one.